Welcome to day 218 of the 300 Movie Challenge. Today we watched the highest grossing film of July 2012, which was The Dark Knight Rises. Of which...
Yeah. Well, this is we have actually all seen this before, but it was all like near when it came out.
Approximately when it came out, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird because it's like we're all familiar with this, but at the same time, like, it's been 6+ years.
It's been a hot second.
Yeah, so I'll be honest, there was a lot in this movie that I'm like, I don't remember this happening at all. Like, I completely forgot Catwoman was in this movie. Like, entirely. I had no idea she was in this movie.
I remember Catwoman, and I remembered the beginning of the movie with the plane thing.
I didn't remember that at all either.
Plane, I didn't remember. I remembered, like, some parts of, like, the middle and, like, the ending, but that's mostly what I remembered.
I guess some fun trivia. Apparently, you know the scene where they were playing football and everything?
Oh, yeah.
Stadium collapses. There were actual football players that actually, like, volunteered to, like, play for the Gotham team and stuff.
Oh!
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
So I found that kind of funny.
Yeah, I remembered that, and then I remembered, like, just kind of like, really roughly what happens in the whole, like, last third. And, of course, the whole, like, pit thing, I remembered that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like, the whole ending, but... Yeah, I don't know, it's... I still... Well, okay. First question. Which one is better? This one or Dark Knight?
I think I have to say Dark Knight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would too. I would also say Dark Knight.
Well, when we watched Dark Knight, I was like, I don't know, I might still like this one more just because this one was the first, like, Batman movie I ever watched.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe nostalgia will, like, kick in and stuff, so I don't know, and everything. But now I'm like, yeah, actually, this one is not as good as the other one.
I think the main downfall is the villain, parentheses.
Yeah, because honestly, like, all of the characters are just kind of okay. I don't really, none of them...
I have a soft spot for Gordon, but...
Yeah, but even in this movie, he doesn't really do
He doesn't do enough.
much.
He's like, he's not there enough, and I'm just like, but I want to see Gordon.
You could say that for all the protagonists. They weren't there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
really.
didn't get to know Robin that well either.
Well, if anything, he was kind of probably in it the most of the people. I mean, how many minutes was actually, like, in the suit Batman on screen? Not many.
Not that long.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right though. Like, I can't really point to any character I was like, oh yeah, they were like the focus of the story, because kind of nobody was.
Yeah, like, they introduced Catwoman and everything, of which it was like, okay, now there's Catwoman, but you don't really get to know her that much other than, like, random snippets and stuff.
Yeah, and the base, like, personality and, like, very basic idea with her is the same personality and idea with her that's in every single thing about her. So it's like, there's no real, like, new... You don't feel a connection to this Catwoman. You're just like, oh, yeah, that's Catwoman. Okay.
Yeah.
And
then Bruce Wayne, it was kind of like, he didn't really appear that much.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got thrown out of Gotham City. And
Is it weird to say that in, like, the two Batman movies that we've watched, Batman isn't really in it that much?
Well, he was definitely in not technically the second one.
The previous
yeah,
one.
a good amount, but
he had more of a presence, but he definitely wasn't like the driving protagonist. It was mostly Gordon's story.
Yeah, it was mostly Gordon and Harvey.
Right.
Yeah.
See, honestly, I'm thinking, like, because we mentioned this before for the last movie that, like, Batman wasn't that interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, really, like, the people who drove that movie, The Dark Knight, were Harvey, Joker, and Gordon.
Yeah.
And when you take two of those away, well,
Oh, Joker and yeah.
and then Gordon didn't do that much here either. So it's just kind of like, again, it's not like bad in that kind of sense, but it doesn't have like any particularly great thing to like really get you invested.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I do.
I feel like if it was more of a story of how Batman acquired Robin, it would have been a bit more.
Yeah, that's the really weird thing because it's
Yeah.
like he, as far as I know, and again, I'm not a huge Batman aficionado here, but I know at least a decent amount. Like, this is a completely new kind of Robin thing.
Yeah, this is not
Yeah.
the first
'Cause the
or
only-
any other Robin.
The Robins I know are Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, and Tim Drake, and they're all completely different.
Yeah.
If anything, Jason Todd is a bit different, but the other two are kind of very similar in terms of how they're introduced into things. And so, I mean, at least the background of him, like, also being an orphan, but even then, that's, like, really different than how the other stuff works. And again, in terms of, like, actual, like, he doesn't really do very much with Batman, so it's just kind of weird, and, like, that, it just seems kind of random, where at the very end, they're like, oh, his real name's actually Robin. It's like, okay? It just seems like...
Not only that, but then it's like at the end of the film, they're like, oh, okay, now Robin is going to take over all the things. And it's like, no, it's usually Robin works with Batman.
Right.
Yeah. He
No.
can't like jump to Nightwing all of a sudden.
We'll see.
He's not even Nightwing.
He
Yeah.
won't even be Nightwing. He's going to be Batman, basically.
But is he? Again, it's really weird. Like, here's the thing. I'm not against them, like, doing their own thing. But, like, actually do your own thing and don't say, but he's Robin.
Yeah.
Right? That's the weird thing about it. So, and if anything, that's kind of my problem with Bane. Because, again, from what I know, this is not, like, how Bane acts. Like,
How
from
does
what...
he act?
Well, so from what I know, and again, I don't know that much. I know him from the animated show, which he's really in it, like, maybe 2 times, so not very often. And I know him from the Arkham games, which, again, he's in it very briefly, like, twice. So, but his thing is that, he, at least for that, is that he has this, like, chemical or something that he's, like, addicted to, that, like, makes him, like, insanely strong, but he has, like, these, like, withdrawal drug symptoms or whatever. And and so he is this, like, mercenary, so I guess that's, like, kind of true, and he has this obsession with, like, strength and being, like, really powerful. But in terms of, like, behavior and this whole, like, government philosophy of the people kind of thing, like, that wasn't him, like, at all.
Our only other frame of reference is we watched Ninja Batman with our other friend.
Oh my god.
But in that, he was kind of like this mindless monster.
Yeah,
He didn't
exactly.
Did he
speak.
appear in that?
He did very, 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 very briefly. I think it was he was the henchman of someone. I can't remember who, but he was. Ninja Batman is a different thing altogether, and it's not maybe a good frame of reference, but that's the only other thing that I can see.
That's favorite.
Yeah, well, because again, he's kind of, like, again, with the chemical or whatever, that kind of makes him, like, Hulk-esque in a sense. It's not quite to
Okay.
that degree, but it's similar idea.
So the mindless monster was like an exaggeration of something that's kind of still there.
Yeah, but so it just kind of comes off as weird because, and, like, he had again, like, the whole mask thing. Like, I remember he wore a mask, but that, like, it wasn't because of that. It was, like, his look or whatever. It wasn't
Okay.
because, like, he got injured and he needed it or something. And the voice was not a weird thing. Which,
Oh my
I
God.
know. It's just the voice. There's so many jokes about the voice, but and the weirdest thing for me was, like, he's kind of, like, not very intimidating.
No.
Like, because his
No.
whole deal, again, he's supposed to be all about, like, being really, strong and muscular. And I'm like, he looks, like, kind of normal. Like, looks a little bit stronger than the average person, but not really.
He looks like he's wearing, those, like, face masks that have the teeth and everything on it and stuff?
Oh, like from
Like a
Tokyo
punk
Ghoul.
face mask, kind of.
Yeah.
It looks like he's wearing a punk, like, face mask instead of
Yeah, I
an
know what you
actual
mean.
mask and then just walking around.
Actually, you know what he looks like? He kind of looks like a pro wrestler.
Well, I think that was kind of like stylistically what he originally was kind of supposed to look like. In like,
But like a lightweight.
yeah, exactly. Because again, like just looking at his body, like his body looks kind of like normal, healthy, kind of works out a bit guy, but not this like dude who's his whole thing is strength or whatever. You know what I mean?
Like he's not ripped.
Exactly.
Like,
he's
ripped.
Yeah. Like that's how I feel like it should be, and it's weird because again, the kind of archetype with this like this. Well, that's the other thing is that the whole plot of this from the villain's perspective.
Mm.
What exactly were they trying to do?
They
Like blow up Gotham, but
they
why?
made Gotham like a hellhole basically, and then their plan was to blow it all up with everyone inside.
But why?
I have no idea.
Yeah, like it's not.
Talia felt like it, I guess.
Right. Okay. So here's the other thing. So this is weird because I have not seen Batman Begins, but I know in Batman Begins the main bad guy is. See, okay, this is another thing that annoys me because in this movie they say his name is Ra's al Ghul, and like that's how his name is spelled. But everything else I've seen, they call him Ra's al Ghul, even though it's spelled the same. So I don't know.
Oh.
I always, when I saw it in text, I thought it was Ra's al Ghul, but then like they say it in like the show and the games like Ra's, so I'm like, what? But it doesn't have there's no sh at the end of the name, whatever. So, like he was anyway. I know the villain in Batman Begins, and so his kind of thing is this sort of like that would be a thing he would do. This kind of sense that like humanity is just fucked up in terms of its philosophically and socially or whatever, and he would want to kind of do some big change about that. That makes sense for his character. So,
Yeah.
having Bane be kind of working with him, or even then have it be that, like, Talia is, like, the actual person who's, running the show or whatever, that does kind of make sense, but it's like the movie focuses so much more on Bane that, like, that's kind of lost.
That and the plot twist of it being her, you don't really. You get it 7/8 through the movie.
Yeah, they needed to do that earlier.
The impact of it.
They
really.
needed, they needed to do it earlier, so you actually got her side of things more.
I think it would have been interesting if she kind of like, since she was kind of working with the other protagonists a little bit, if she actually turned on them, like if I don't know, like maybe if Lucius Fox died or something because she did something, that might have been more interesting. And then like Batman comes back and he's like, "Okay, I'm back. Where's my tech guy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's dead."
Yeah, or I don't know, because it's strange, and it kind of fixes the issue of like this feels like it's not something Bane would do, because it turns out, well, it's not what he's doing. He's following
But
orders.
you still believe that it's Bane's plan until like 10 minutes before it ends.
Yeah, and again, they focus so much on Bane that it's like, yeah, it's just kind of weird.
And then you also don't know if all the orders Bane gave out were actually his own and stuff too.
Yeah.
Because it's
Right.
confirmed. But I guess another weird thing that I found was, what was with the stupid plan of sending every single police officer into the tunnels?
How did
Yeah,
they survive?
I didn't follow why they actually did that in the first
Why-
place.
Why didn't they just kill all of the police officers if they didn't want them?
I
More
Don't
so,
know.
why would it make sense to send everyone down there? Because usually what they do is they try and get intel and stuff, and then they stage a coup. Or not a coup, they stage like something, and a few officers go in, or a unit goes in. Not like everyone. Like
Every-
traffic cop.
yeah.
It's like if you sent the entire NYPD into the sewers
It's
for
like,
no
well,
reason.
what do you think is going to happen?
Or again, I feel like I missed like a page in the script where I'm like, wait,
Actually,
why are they
wait.
down there?
No, this is exactly what happened as a joke in Madagascar 3 when all like the 3 police officers
Oh yeah.
down into the hole and everything
Oh.
and got locked up. That was done as a joke, but here it was actually a major plot point and everything.
Oh my god, what?
Oh,
Madagascar 3 was right before this movie.
I know. Oh my god. Yeah, there's plot elements here, and then also the whole like first hour or so of the movie, like you feel like nothing really happens.
No.
Yeah, it's low.
You're kind of just introduced to all the new characters like Catwoman and apparently Robin.
Yeah. So there's weird stuff in it. Like overall, I still like it as kind of, just the presentation of everything, and it does have especially for like the last third or so, there is a decent amount of like tension and stuff like that. So I can't say I disliked it. I did, and I wouldn't even say I I kind of liked it. I guess I do like it, but there are definite weird things about it and weird focuses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like I'm kind of viewing this how I viewed what was the movie called? The one with Jodie Foster, where it's like the first half is kind of separate from the second half.
Oh, Flight Plan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of viewing it like that because like I really like the ending, like how it's set up and stuff, even though a few things still don't really make any sense, but like
Yeah,
you do
like
see the characters come back together, like Gordon's there and then Batman is there.
Mm-hmm.
And then extraneous Catwoman is there.
Because, for me at least, there's really nothing in here that I would say is bad.
Yeah.
No.
There's just some weird decisions.
I think what they
They're
could have
unexplained and
Yeah.
yeah, I think maybe what they could have done to like help with the whole like too many characters thing and like to give us someone inside the city is maybe they could have combined Robin and Catwoman's role
I
and
was
just
thinking that,
present
yeah.
Catwoman.
Yeah, I was
Because
thinking
Robin's
that.
not important in this canon of Batman, but Catwoman is very important to this plot.
Or, wait, no. I know what's even better.
Hmm?
Combine both of them into Batgirl.
Oh.
Oh, that
Because
would've-
she's Barbara Gordon.
Oh, wait, really?
Yes,
Oh.
that's the whole point of her character. So that's both the police side of it and the, person in a suit mask stuff part of it. You know what I mean? It's both.
Oh.
Oh, that
And then
would
she'd
be
be
great.
she'd be working with her dad.
Yeah, and she's like one of the best characters of the animated show. So, yeah, that's actually a great idea. Wow, okay.
And then
Right.
maybe if you wanted to get rid of, like, have the police, like, not there for a while, maybe come up with a better explanation than just trapping even the traffic cop in the sewers.
Like they could have even terrorized them into being like, if you step out and like and do your policey stuff, then we will kill your family. Because that could also it makes more sense than locking them in the sewer for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then,
Or just, like, somehow, like, expelling them out of the city.
Yeah,
mhm.
So they couldn't enter back in. Actually, yeah, that would have made more sense if
like they did blow up the bridges, so they could have been like, okay, let's like create some diversions out, like just barely outside of the city, like on the bridges, and then just blow up the bridges so that they can't come back.
Yeah, that would have made more sense, huh?
Because they did blow up the bridges, except one.
Yeah, but they had the army there for that, but...
And then they blew it up. For no reason.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I know there's some people out there who, like, hate this movie, and I definitely don't agree that
That's a
hate
little
this.
bit unfair.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, we are, like, ragging on it a little bit, but overall it still was, like, a fine,
yeah.
okay movie and stuff.
Yeah.
The, what was I gonna say? One of the problems is that, this is the final movie of the trilogy, right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so they're like this sense of, well, we have to make it, this big grand thing, and, Gotham potentially blowing up with a nuke is a pretty big kind of thing. It's like that, okay, fine, right? But, so scenario-wise, sure, but the problem is they don't really have, like, they have a scenario that's more, big and extreme, but the characters don't follow that, right? Harvey and Joker were too good, in a sense, in The Dark Knight.
Right.
Because they don't have anything different that's also better to go off of, really. Because, again, in terms of, like, big Batman villains, I mean, would you consider Bane up there in terms of... Okay, Joker's the big guy, right? He's the one at the top. But in terms of second level, I mean, you have, I would say, Two-Face. I probably maybe would throw Bane in there. But it's a bit looser. But it would definitely Two-Face. But I would also put I could think of Penguin, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy. The thing, maybe there's a little bit of ill will towards them because they were in the Batman and Robin, which was horrible. So and they are definitely more less realistic characters.
Mm-hmm.
So, Penguin, I guess, is realistic, but he's kind of lame. Someone's gonna get mad that I said that, but I find him lame. I'm sorry. So, yeah, they kind of wrote themselves into a hole because I'm sure they didn't expect Heath Ledger to kill himself, but I don't know if they were planning on using Joker again anyway. But either way, it still was they didn't. I can see where they were kind of well, shit. Now what? What do we do, right? So, yeah, there is one thing I do think that's really interesting, but they just barely touch on it.
Mm.
And it's this sense of again, how when Bane takes over the city, his whole speech is about how, Gotham's corrupt, we have to tear it down and all that kind of stuff, right?
Mm.
And they portray it where, that he frees the prisoners, but and stuff like that, and they go after a lot of rich and powerful people, right? And they get quote unquote exiled and stuff like that, and it's portrayed in a very negative way, which it is, because it kind of mirrors a lot of extreme rhetoric on both sides. It's definitely to a more kind of a degree on one side, but it's there where it's the sense where we have to where there is the sense that American especially political system is kind of broken, right?
Yeah.
And so you think okay, so we should change the system, and you could say that some people, so that's a fair thing to go, but then there's also at the same point there's people who are seeing it. There are people who are too willing to basically, because I see comments like this a lot of the time where it's about how you should not just focus on changing the system or changing things like that, but it's too personal in a sense where it's there's jokes about it, but I have seen where it's not quite actually a joke, where it's the whole kind of joke eat the rich, right? And it's that's sure, are there terrible rich people? Sure, but and are they benefiting from a system that they shouldn't? Yes, but does that necessarily mean that that individual person should be hanged? No.
Yeah.
Some of them, well, it depends on what they're doing, but again, it's you can't just make that as a blanket statement for anyone in the 1%, right? So and that behavior can be exploited by an authority figure, which is what Bane does, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's saying he uses that whole sense because people again think normal thing, how much, what percent of people trust Congress and stuff like that, right? Incredibly low. So people know the system is corrupt, so someone can take advantage of that, and you could argue people have already done that, and so that angle of it I think is interesting.
Mm.
But they really don't do very much with it, and again, since it's Bane leading it, it feels kind of weird.
Right.
Yeah.
So
maybe they should have used a different one of the villains from the canon.
Yeah, well, because again, I think from what I know, Ra's al Ghul, that kind of makes sense as something he would do. But again, I guess they used him in Batman Begins. I don't know what happens to him. Batman he in the hole, when he sees him or whatever, he seems he's surprised that he's alive. So I guess he quote unquote died. But Ra's whole thing is that he's immortal. So anyway, so.
Wait, I just realized something.
Mm-hmm.
In the previous film, when you mentioned the prisoners and stuff getting released and everything, right? In the previous film, there was a whole thing about how the prisoners didn't want to blow up the ship.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I totally forgot about that scene.
And then the civilians didn't want to blow up the other ship.
Right. Wait.
Yeah. Well, no.
Yeah.
Well, there was arguments about it both ways, but like they're ultimately, yeah, they both decided
Yeah.
not to do it.
But then here they're all portrayed as horrible people.
Yeah.
Catwoman.
Where are all of the prisoners who would have been like, yeah, we don't like this guy either. Let's like help the regular people by like, being kind of undercover.
Well,
that could have been interesting.
they do say that it's been 8 years, and the whole...
you think like the good prisoners on that ship like got released
Well,
already?
no, not even that, but it's enough time, especially since the whole thing, as they say early on, that there was, the Dent Act, and they phrase that as, like, that was kind of a stronger crackdown on criminalization. So,
okay,
if you have that rhetoric, and 8 years is a long enough time where that could change, like, opinion, especially among prisoners on something like that. So that makes a bit of sense, and, like, actually, that reminds me, there's one, like, thing that I've heard so many people complain about for this movie, and it's always like, how come Batman got, out of the hole and then got back to Gotham City in, like, so quickly? Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, it wasn't quick. Because if you listen, right before the stuff that happens where he gets out of the hole, someone's talking and they mention how the bomb's gonna go off in, like, 20 days or something. And then when Batman shows up, they say they have until tomorrow to blow up the bomb.
Right. Yeah.
So it took him like 18, 19 days to get there. So like that's somewhat reasonable, right?
Yeah.
So that's always the thing. Everyone's like, but how did he get back in like a day? And I'm like, he didn't. So because I was looking out for that in particular, because I'm like, I know everyone says this is a problem, and if it's true, that is a problem, but it's not. They specifically actually address that. So I guess people just aren't paying attention. I don't know. So
I was gonna say, how did he get into Gotham City?
I mean, he's Batman.
I guess, but
he flew
it's kind of like,
his...
well, if he got into the city, couldn't, like, other people get into the city?
He flew in with his bat entourage.
I mean, it's not like he knew, like, blueprints of which tunnels they, like, collapsed and everything, or he had, like, a drill or something.
Well, again, you don't know... Well, again, let's just say 3 weeks to make the number easy in terms of how long it took him to get into Gotham. We don't know what that skill meant. So let's say, I don't even know where that pit is. Let's say it's literally in the middle of desert in fucking Iran. Okay, let's just make up a place that's so far away, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would probably take him, like... Let's say it takes him a week to then get to, like, an airport that would be back to the U.S., okay?
Mm-hmm.
Which that's kind of reasonable. Okay, let's say that. So then, that's still a long time, maybe even 2 weeks, but that's still several days for him to, like, think of some way to get actually into Gotham. And again, he's, Bruce Wayne. He has lots of, resources. And at least he knows a bunch of shit that's going on. So it's like, again, I see your point, and like it would have made more sense if they could have shown it specifically, but I don't see it as like, wait a minute, this makes the plot not make any sense at all,
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
I don't know, I just find it weird that, like, that's
funny.
an argument that people make, and they always say that, like, this is a big problem, and it's like, well, I don't know. Anyway.
It would be kind of funny if he, like, crawled through all the cars at the tunnel. I mean, I can see that being plausible.
Or there happened to be, like, a bulldozer down there.
I'll just take this bulldozer and, like, just use it for a hot second. And then the henchmen come and they're just like, wait, where is the tunnel open? And they just cover it up again.
Yeah, I kind of wish... I don't know. Overall, not bad. Still, I don't know, positive, and not, like, just barely positive, but there's definitely some weird things about it, and previous one's better.
Yeah.
It is weird that this, came out, like, very shortly after Avengers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of seeing the comparisons with that.
The Avengers handled the whole nuke threat, I think, a little bit better by making it something that was a reaction to something as opposed to the actual plot.
Yeah.
But of course, Avengers also had a lot of supernatural themes to it, too, so...
Oh, yeah, that's true, too.
Yeah, that is one of the things that's like, you know, oh, Batman, it's like the gritty environment, the gritty realistic environment, and it's like, have you seen all the stuff that happens in Batman properties? There's not a lot of things that are super realistic. Because again, that kind of rates you into a corner in terms of like what villains you can use and stuff like that, right? You know, they're not going to be able to use fucking Clayface. You know what I mean? It wouldn't work. That'd be really awesome though. So.
And I guess in this universe, Superman and the rest of the DC universe isn't here either.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, this is just its own timeline, and that's it. It was just these movies, so. Oh,
At
well.
least it's not part of that DCEU.
Yeah. It does make me wonder that maybe part of the reason that, like, we haven't actually had, like, a Batman movie in the DCEU is just because of the Dark Knight stuff that's happened, you know, quite recently. So they were just like, people know this already. Let's just do something else. Which, like, honestly, I don't mind that much because, especially, I don't know, unless, again, they pulled out some of the really weird stuff from Batman, because I don't really want to see, like, you know, another Dark Knight-esque movie, but in the DCU, because we just had the Dark Knight, right?
Yeah.
I'd want something different and with different people and hopefully kind of weirder. But considering the track record, it probably wouldn't be very good. So, wah. But, yeah. Anything else to say about that?
Really?
Okay, well, is next? Yeah, okay. Next is a sequel to something that we saw that we thought was just kind of dumb. And this sequel will probably still be just kind of dumb.
Oh boy.
I guess we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe this is the movie that we'll just love.
Ha! Ha!
Oh boy.
Somehow I doubt it. Somehow.
Okay, bye for now.
Oh boy.